Mm.
Hi guys, it's Rufaro back again with the podcast, and I'm joined by Tinashe.
Hi.
Yeah, we know it's been a while since we've brought you a new episode, and that's mainly because Tinashe is having health problems at the moment, so his availability is not guaranteed. So we may miss some weeks, but we'll try our best to be regular and keep the podcast going.
Yeah, and we hope we can bring in some fresh people as well, so that this is not interrupted. And in case you're worried, I'm not dying. But yeah, there's just an ongoing health situation that sometimes takes me out of the game. So I hope it will get resolved sooner than I even expect.
Yeah.
So,
Oh,
having said that, Mr. Rufaro,
yes.
it's been a crazy 1.5 weeks, hasn't it?
Ridiculous. Not just crazy. It's been ridiculous.
In Zim and yeah, and I think the last podcast we did, it was on EcoCash, wasn't it?
I think so.
I think so. So yeah, it's not that we're obsessed about EcoCash, but yeah, they do contribute to a big chunk of our day-to-day lives. We interface with that platform. Pretty much every Zimbabwean, really, if you think about it. So
yeah.
And today the story is EcoCash again. I mean, the past 1.5 weeks, it was EcoCash that has dominated the conversation, and it was not in the best of lights.
Mm.
So on Thursday, I think, the 14th. Hey, I may miss my dates, but nabasa, hey, doesn't matter, does it? I think on Thursday, the 14th, EcoCash sent out a message, or maybe it was a little earlier, saying that. Oh, so Thursday was the 13th, I think. Or
No, Thursday
maybe
was the
before.
14th.
It was the 14th. Oh,
Yeah,
so my dates were right. Or maybe a little earlier than that. They sent out a message saying the EcoCash platform would be down on Saturday, from Saturday the 16th, 9 p.m. to Sunday the 17th, 9 p.m. So that's a period of 24 hours.
Yeah, and we're like,
and
oh, okay.
Saying,
it's just 24 hours. And it's on a
and
weekend.
they're saying it was a scheduled maintenance. I don't know how scheduled it was, but they mentioned beforehand, and we're like, 24 hours. We tried to notify people on the blog and stuff for them to just get as much they can get in order before then. People use EcoCash for all sorts of things, to buy airtime and stuff like that. To say, hey, if you're gonna need to buy airtime over the weekend, you might as well just do that in advance of the weekend. And of course, we anticipated that, the downtime could actually start earlier than the 9 p.m. on Saturday the 16th, and perhaps even end later than the 9 p.m. on Sunday the 17th.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We were right about the
It went beyond Sunday the 17th.
Yeah.
And so it was really messy. And on Monday the 18th, the EcoCash marketing guys actually prematurely sent out some flyers that were saying, "Yay, everything is back up," and things were not back up, and they then had to send another message saying, "Oh, we are still stabilizing the platform."
Yeah, but it seemed to be getting worse and worse and worse.
yeah, and it seems to be getting worse. And at one point, you could buy airtime, Econet airtime on there, and then the next time you check, that option is not even there. And then you check a little while later, the option is back. Yeah, people are trying to send money. Money gets that deducted from one wallet, well, not from the sending wallet, but it doesn't reach the receiving wallet. Yeah, someone who asked EcoCash what was going on. I've done this transaction and this, and then a response from an EcoCash customer service person was, we can't trace these transactions right now.
And you're like, if EcoCash does not know, who is supposed to know? Like,
exactly. And that was a scary response. Like, flip. So this money could just be lost in the quicksand somewhere, and
yeah, and I do think that was irresponsible, because if you knew things were that bad, why did you open up the system? Why did you let people keep on transacting?
yeah, so that's actually my first question. I mean, Rufaro, you're a developer.
Yeah.
So this is, just putting you on the spot, but this is perhaps a hard question. Do these things happen?
Absolutely. So they do happen. It's like Murphy's Law, right? Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. And that's like one of the things in software development, that you always think things are going to go right. You think you've covered all your bases, but then something can just go wrong and catch you off guard. So, for example, I was actually reading an article on The Guardian, and they were saying that actually this is like a common issue. So, like in 2018, there was this bank, this New Zealand bank called TSB, and they had an outage for like weeks, and 1.9 million customers were locked out of their accounts, right? And this was because they were doing a migration of their data from one system to a new system, and along the way, something went wrong, terribly wrong. And I mean, imagine 1.9 million customers couldn't access their accounts for weeks. It's almost the same situation with what's happening with EcoCash, only that we have access to the accounts, but it's like, it's not stable. You can't even trust the system. And in June, so this was like in April, and then the CEO actually resigned like 5 months later, because it was like, no, this is now too much for me. I guess he had a hard time. But in June 2018, at Visa, like 5.2 million transactions failed, right? Because a backup data center did not switch on, right? So they couldn't handle those transactions in Europe, right? So that's like 5.2 million transactions. 3 months later, and millions of Barclays customers were unable to access their accounts online for like much of 20 September. Of course, this was like a day, but you can clearly see that it's a common thing, and it can happen to anyone. I mean, we're talking about big names, Barclays, Visa, and this TSB bank, right? So it does happen, and you might not see it coming, but it's been like, systems have been developed for years now, almost centuries probably, right? So you'd think at this point, we know how to at least put measures in place so that there's not a total outage. And those measures are there in most cases. So you have the backup databases, or you create a copy of how your system looks like before the upgrade, so that if something goes wrong with the upgrade, you can roll back to the previous state, to what it was before you made any changes. So these things are there, and it should have worked in EcoCash's
That's what
case.
surprised me, So I actually spoke to an EcoCash executive who I can't name. And I asked about this, and they're saying, so we're moving from this system to there, but the mistake that we made, you know what, we should have we should have done this in stages, but so during that 24-hour period that we had given, we actually moved all the data from the old version of the system that we're using, and then we were transferring it to the new version. And I was surprised. I was like, what? You just moved all that in? This is financial data, man.
Yeah.
You didn't clone it?
Does that make
Ah,
sense? You can expect this for like a Rufaro type of developer, right? You are working on a small system, you're just one guy. You can understand it, what, right? If I miss this
yeah,
basic thing. But when it's a huge organization with the manpower and the resources that EcoCash has, it's like, how can you
yeah,
not do such a basic thing? But of course, again, I'm not a developer at EcoCash, so I'm probably taking a lot of things for granted, right?
yeah, of
But
course.
it's like they should have these systems in place.
Yeah. And I mean, even the executive might have just said the wrong thing, thinking they are just, you know, BSing this guy who works in the media.
Mm.
Um, but saying something that's actually worse. So like if you're not really knowledgeable, you may just say, "Ah, yeah, so we just moved the data," and you think that makes the
Sense.
media understand when it's actually, oh, what? What did you do? So maybe that's not even what happened. But I mean, talking of big names, it's not just EcoCash. It's their partner,
Mm.
Mahindra Comviva, the guys who have built the system that EcoCash sits on. It's called Mobiquity.
Yeah,
Um,
it's actually funny you mentioned that because in our
mm,
community groups, one guy actually posted it in the group saying that, oh look, they did such a bad job, they're leaving their vendor name like visible. So it's saying Mobiquity user can't be found or something like that instead of saying EcoCash.
oh,
And it's like, guys, you're
oh,
making it too obvious that you're not in control. Or yeah, it's like
yeah,
we clearly did not
yeah.
white label the whole thing.
Mm. Yeah, but so that's the problem I have. Like with 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 EcoCash and then the Ultimate Holding Group in general, that's Econet Global. Um, yeah, they don't seem to have this emphasis on engineering, eh?
Mm.
So they just build, not really build, they just buy solutions. Um, but I don't really see, uh, this culture of being strong on engineering for a technology company. That's really dangerous. You just can't buy stuff. It's like their new application, Sasai. It's just a white labeled thing, man. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, guys, for the stuff that you want to do, you just can't white label some generic Chinese built chat application. So that's my concern. That so are even the engineers right there at EcoCash, are they fully engineers, or they serve and act as technicians who are just looking at this so that they raise their hand at Mobiquity, at Mahindra Conviva if something goes wrong? Hey, it's flashing, it's flashing.
Uh,
I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, that's my comment. But yeah, I mean, what you mentioned, I mean, the cloning of the database and stuff. I mean, what else could they have done better?
okay, so that's like the first like obvious one that you should have at least made backups of how your system was before you started the upgrade, so that you can roll back. So if we assume that that didn't happen, um, yeah, they shouldn't have pretended. And this is not a technical thing, but it's like
Mm,
just making customers aware of the reality that's there. They shouldn't have pretended like everything's all right. Like this is just a simple glitch, because if it's taken 1.5 weeks, clearly it wasn't a quick fix. So there's something terribly wrong that they're still looking at how to fix or stabilize. So it would have been that just telling people the truth that, hey guys, this thing is not stable. Or so I don't know which would have been better, for them to close it out completely, or and tell us, yeah, we've closed down because this thing's not stable and we're figuring out how to stabilize it, or them saying uh, things can go wrong while you're trying to transact because we're still
mm,
stabilizing the system, but at least you know from day one after like the
mm,
upgrade that they're telling me that things did not go according to plan immediately,
mm,
and you make yourself aware that okay, while I'm transacting, something can go wrong. So now you have enough information to make the decision yourself as a customer, whether you will risk it or you will find alternatives in the meantime.
Yeah, I do think, I mean, the warning would have, I think the warning would have been the better option for them. Closing it out completely, I don't think that would have been an option because of, regulators are watching. You're just opening yourselves up to a lot of scrutiny to say, oh, this company actually controls a lot of commerce, So the moment there's just that outcry, people, saying, hey, our money is logged into our wallets and then we can't buy and stuff like that. It becomes a big deal with government and stuff. So I think they're also trying to manage that situation.
But then that's a reality. There's this question that we actually need to all realize or give an answer to, right? Is Zim too vulnerable to EcoCash? We can't close our eyes and pretend like things are okay right now because the system is online. But while you're trying to transact, things are going wrong. And when things go really wrong, we then realize, oh, actually, yeah, Zimbabwe is vulnerable to EcoCash.
And
I'm answering the question, I guess.
I do agree that, Zim is vulnerable to EcoCash, and it's times like this that really show how much vulnerable we all are. At the beginning of this recording, we mentioned that there's a health situation that I'm taking care of and stuff. So whilst this was happening, there's some critical procedures that I needed to pay for. And I was limited because I wanted to use EcoCash to pay, and it was crazy.
And it's like you have no alternative. That's it. All your money is in your EcoCash. If you try to move it to your bank, things can go wrong in that move.
Yeah. So in fact, that's what I wanted to do, but it needed to skip through whoops. It needed to move from some EcoCash account to mine, and then to my bank, and then from the bank to the place where I was making payment. I was like, you know what? Some of it will go through, some of it will get stuck somewhere, and it will just be money all over the place, which you actually don't know whether you get it back or get it back on time and stuff. And Zim is in a high inflationary environment right now, so you can't afford to have your money logged in for a day.
No, you can't, because it's losing value by the minute.
So it's crazy, but I don't know how that vulnerability goes away, to be honest.
Are they at least being held accountable? Because in other countries, there's the whole 99% uptime that you have to maintain. For Zimbabwe, it's like what is it, 95 or something? I'm not sure if it's 99. But yeah,
I think the claim is it has to be 99. I think.
Okay, so the claim is it has to be 99. So, and already over this year, EcoCash hasn't been 99% of the times up. Outside of this recent outage, they've been having in between outages, mini outages, if you can call it. So are the regulators taking a look at that, holding them accountable to that, or it's just it is what it is? Because we'll always be vulnerable if we don't require EcoCash to be held to those standards.
So I asked them. I asked some of the EcoCash people that I spoke to, and it's like, okay. So is the central bank and the government are they at least asking questions? What are they saying? They just said, the central bank is being supportive. We've kept them informed throughout. And then they said, yeah, but the government was asking questions. So it worried me that, whoa, the central bank is a regulator. What do they mean they are being supportive? Yeah, I'm not saying they should just go with an X and say, yeah, we want to chop down EcoCash. No, but I think supportive is not the stance right now. The stance is, guys, we can't tolerate this. Tell us exactly what's going on. What are you communicating to consumers? Because like you said, I mean, one of the things that they messed up is the communication itself. So from Monday evening, they started sending out, that's Monday the 18th of November, they started sending out daily updates every evening, I think for about 3 days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, perhaps and Thursday. In those updates they were not informative. It was just PR stunts, eh? Like, you know, as a consumer, I am not more educated after these updates than I was before it. It just said, your services are back. We're working to stabilize. What does that mean? Because I will attempt to make a transaction and my money gets lost. So I think that's where regulators should then have a hard stance. Well, they can say, yeah, you know what, these things do happen, but we want to see how you are responding to it, particularly in relation to how you communicate with your users. This is a platform that is a big percentage of all our daily transactions. So that disappointed me. So I guess we'll keep being vulnerable, I guess, to EcoCash, because the regulators are supportive.
But
whatever that may be.
It's not all doom and gloom because there are new features. So how are those new features? I feel like I'm lying to people right now. I'm sorry, guys. But yeah.
Yeah, well, so yeah, they introduced some new features. Well, I'm not fully aware of all of them, to be honest. There's just one that I thought, wow, these guys have retrogressed. So going back to the doom and gloom. You know? Yeah. So on merchant payments. So in fact, I published an article a few moments ago on that, talking about how they've moved 5 steps backwards. So for those that maybe would not be aware, the thing when mobile money became mainstream and people started using it to pay in retail shops, how people would do that would be to go through a USSD menu. So for example, you dial *151#, and then you click dial. The next screen would be, welcome to EcoCash, enter your PIN to proceed. You do that, then the next screen you see would be options. The first option on that menu is send money. So that's peer-to-peer sending of money. And then the second one is, currently it says make payment. So that's your payments to merchant to pay your bills, your electricity bill and stuff. So you choose that option, for example. And then the next screen you see will be different options under that payment. So it may be pay bill. I think that's option 1. Then the second option, it says pay merchant. So that's your retail shop, right? So you choose that option 2. And then it asks you for the merchant ID. That's the merchant code. Each merchant is given a code, an identifying code. So you enter that merchant code, and then the next screen says enter amount. Then you enter the amount that you're paying, and the next screen tells you to confirm by pressing 1 for confirm or 2 for cancel, or something like that. You press 1, confirmed, transaction successful. But do you see how laborious that is? I mean, like my voice was just droning on and on. I'm sure some of you were falling asleep to say, oh, cut it, man, cut to it. And then long codes came about, which was a really good thing. So instead of going through all these steps step by step like I was describing, one would then say *151 *2, that's make payment option 2, *2, that's the option to pay a merchant, you enter the merchant number, you enter amount, #dial. So once you do that, the next screen would then say, you're about to make a payment of so much to this merchant. Confirm by entering your PIN. You enter your PIN, done.
Yeah.
And they went a step further to make it convenient. They then integrated with some merchants, particularly the big retailers and stuff, whereby you as the shopper, you just enter your number in the point of sale terminal and at the till, and whatever the till operator would have rung up as your bill, you would then get a pop-up on your EcoCash phone that just says, yeah, you're about to make this amount payment to this particular merchant. Confirm by entering your PIN. You do that, boom, you're done. It was simple and it was working.
Yeah.
And now what do? So whether you do the long code as I described it, or you are using the merchant integration and you enter your number in the POS terminal, instead of seeing a message that says, yeah, you're about to make this payment to this merchant, enter your PIN, the message you get says, welcome to EcoCash.
Yeah.
Enter your PIN to start.
Yeah,
so right there, I mean, you're surprised. You're like, I'm midway through a process. What am I starting? And so if you're brave and you say, okay, let me enter the PIN. You enter the PIN. Next screen you see is you are making a payment to this merchant.
Yeah.
Press 1 to confirm or 2 to cancel. And you're like, why is this step there? Because I've already authenticated this with my PIN. So why did they introduce this an extra step? And
two-step verification. Are you really sure?
Yeah, like what is this? So you enter that one, right? The worst thing, which I experienced this morning, I entered one because I was making payment somewhere. And then it says, transaction successful from Tinashe Nyasha to this place. They're just wasting real estate. I know who I am. Why should that message tell me who I am? And because they wasted real estate, they inconvenienced me, because the merchant I was paying, I had used the long code, right? The merchant I was paying said, hey, I need the order ID. And I guess they're collecting these numbers, order IDs, because things are just crazy on the EcoCash platform. So they better, just have these records in case they need to make follow-up to say, yeah, we received this money, but it didn't get into our wallet. That confirmation message that said, Tinashe Nyasha is making payment to this, he has successfully made payment to this merchant, it didn't have the transaction ID.
Oh, so how could they know it was real?
Yeah, so I had to wait for the SMS confirmation that they sent so that I could then copy that transaction ID. And I was like, what nonsense is this? You know? So I do not understand. So maybe, Rufaro, you know why they did this. Do you have an idea? Do you have a theory of why?
Uh, so before I get to your answer, so as we were speaking, I actually decided to try an online payment to see if it's still the case. And yeah, to speak to the way things are unstable with EcoCash, they've changed. So now they're back to you just enter the PIN to confirm the transaction.
Oh, really?
And yeah, and now it's even a bit more ambiguous because it just says online merchant transaction of, in this case, it was 10 cents to is pending. So before they would show you the merchant code and they'll tell you the full name of the company that owns that merchant code, and then you'd understand who exactly you're paying. But yeah, they've gone back to the old system, which is good, and that you just enter the PIN. But to answer your question, why would they do this? Maybe, of which I don't understand where the risk is. So it was gonna be, maybe they want to make sure that you are really the person who owns that phone. But then it's like, if I have the phone in my hand and the prompt comes in and I enter the PIN, if you ask me to enter one or not, if I had accessed the PIN and it was correct, it's done. There's no difference.
Yeah.
There's no extra
It's not like
security
I'll
layer.
then say, they're saying enter one. Should I enter one since it's not my phone? I mean,
yeah,
it's saying enter one.
So that's the one that I would have thought that maybe there's some extra layer of security they're adding. But then as I thought about it, I was like, no, it doesn't make sense. There's nothing extra that they're putting there. So it's like, yeah, it was really an unnecessary step. If it does come back, it's still an unnecessary step for them to add. So probably why it went there could be because that theory that we're talking about, that they just took this thing and they didn't white label it enough or customize it enough. So this could be just how the default system works. So they had to go and find all those little things that were assumptions of whoever built that system and change them to be something that makes sense and is intuitive for customers.
Yeah, and I was disappointed. I mean, like speaking to some officials there at EcoCash, and I asked about this. Way before today. You know, I wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't really that I wanted to write an article. It was like, whoa, guys, I don't understand why this is. And I was disappointed because they tried to BS me because they said, yeah, it's for security, and then I would ask, yeah, but how is this adding to security? Because the person is already authenticated with the PIN, and now they're being asked to confirm after the fact. How is this? And then they were then, all of them, they were then quick to say, yeah, oversight. One of them said, yeah, this was being talked about. Yeah, we complained about this. And I'm like,
wait, 2 seconds ago you were saying security?
You were saying security now. Yeah, that kind of thing. And yeah, it's that communication to say, you know what, if the house is on fire, just own up to it. We will trust you the next time. But yeah, it's sad to be using a payments service provider that you can't trust. You are looking for every opportunity to ditch them.
Speaking of ditching, is this a great opportunity for competitors, or was it? Well, it's still happening, so like it's an is. But yeah, the fact that EcoCash is facing an outage, and they're having all these weird things that they're adding in their system, like for friction and things like that. So it's like really seems like it's an opportunity for a competitor to come and say, hey, yeah, you're frustrated that side, come this side. The grass is much greener this side.
Yeah, except for network effects. So So yeah, it's very difficult for people to switch. But one thing, I mean, the competitor really that is really in sight. Oh no, not exactly in sight, but that could have a shot is Net1's One Money, right?
Mm.
And I think one of the advantages that Net1 that One Money has right now is that Net1 is growing in its subscriber base. Like the MNO itself, people are switching to Net1, you know. They don't switch off Econet completely because they still use EcoCash as their mobile money solution. But more and more in terms of their data and even voice calls and stuff, they're using Net1. One generally, Net1 has better pricing. And number two, particularly lately, the Net1 network seemed to be more reliable than Econet. So that, I mean, if you've convinced people to use your SIM card for their data and for their calling, I think it's yeah, it's not too far-fetched to then convince them to use your mobile money solution as well, particularly if EcoCash continues to mess up. What Net1 needs to do is to build out that network of merchants, and particularly merchants and agents are not really necessary anymore because no one really is cashing in or cashing out, you know. There's no cash in Zim, but merchants. So EcoCash, the network effects that EcoCash has is they have this already massive network of merchants. There is virtually no way you can go and someone doesn't have the capacity to accept
EcoCash.
EcoCash. Even if they are not really integrated as a merchant, they do have an EcoCash wallet where they can say, okay, you can send to my personal EcoCash wallet. So Net1 needs to aggressively go for merchants. And if EcoCash continues to offer friction like this, and merchants, because you know what, especially this festive season, it's very difficult for supermarkets, you know, to manage their queues and stuff. So they don't want people to stay in line for too long. So they may start switching off to say, you know what, EcoCash is not working. When EcoCash is working, but they just want the flow of people to be easier, to try to force people to use other payment methods. And Net1 is actually making it faster, eh? So the process I described for EcoCash, you know, with you enter your number on the POS and then you authenticate with the PIN on your phone. Net1 is testing out with some merchants where you can just enter your number on the POS and then you authenticate with your PIN on that same POS. You don't even need to take out your phone. So the more such things happen, and if merchants start rejecting EcoCash, those network effects will start to unravel. So yeah, they're actually putting their neck on the guillotine if they don't fix this fast.
Yeah, but one thing we shouldn't forget is it's not easy being EcoCash. So if One Money were to grow right now to the stage where EcoCash is, and they haven't put the right measures in place, they also could crumble because they wouldn't have been expecting this much traffic and volume of transactions on their system. So they also need to do that, prepare in advance. Otherwise, people will go away from One Money when it crashes because there's a lot of transactions happening.
Oh yeah, and it's a real risk. Well, Net1 has new leadership, so I hope some of these issues are having solved. But traditionally, I mean, they have taken such things for granted. You know, you grow in numbers, and then you don't have the elasticity to accommodate those numbers. They have done that. So the hope is, you know, since they have new leadership and all, they're over that. It's a hope.
Yeah. Oh, well, I also hope that this EcoCash outage is coming to an end very soon, today if possible.
Oh yeah. I mean, and I mean to be fair, like you say, these things do happen, and it's easier to sit in a chair like this and to poke fun at other people. But yeah, it's never easy, and Zim is particularly not an easy environment to be in. So there could be some things that we don't even know. Maybe they were struggling to pay for certain licenses since they are paid in hard currency, and maybe they didn't want to disclose that. I don't think that's what was happening, but it's a possibility. The hope is just that they will be more transparent. And one of the things I don't think they were transparent even from the outset. I think why this thing became chaotic was that it was rushed. Because I mean, weeks prior to their announcing that, yeah, we are doing an upgrade and stuff, EcoCash was crumbling. So I suspect that this was actually a very rushed thing, reacting to, the chaos that was starting to happen on their platform. But then they made it sound like all is well, we're just doing an upgrade. I wish for more truth and transparency in the future, really.
Yeah.
So we go away for several weeks and we come back and we talk about EcoCash again, So maybe we go away again, and then maybe when we come back, EcoCash would have done some amazing thing. I don't know. But yeah, I look forward to talking about One Money. I mean, they are on a run, an interesting run, and they just announced exciting things. I mean, if nothing comes up, maybe that should be our next topic. I mean, they're offering they're offering free transaction fees up to the end of the year. So maybe we can talk about that. Is that an effective strategy and stuff? I don't really think so, but we can talk about that.
And to add on to what you had said earlier about having guests on, the call is also open to all of you guys. If you want to be on the podcast, you like to talk, it's just a friendly chat with a friend. So yeah, if you have something that you're really interested in, you can reach out to us either via our community groups, or you can just send an email to news@techzim.co.zw, or our support number. What's our community support number? One moment. You should have memorized this, Tinashe. How do you not know this by head?
Oh, it's on me now.
So the number is, here we go. 0715 071 199. So 0715 071 199. So yeah, so just send a message to that number and showing your interest to the podcast, and we'll reach out and talk more about the topics that you want to talk about and see if we can record together.
And talking about WhatsApp numbers and EcoCash and all that, you can buy airtime on using your WhatsApp. So like we said, particularly they're just a lot of people that have migrated to use Net1, and you primarily use Net1, or maybe you use Telecel as for your calls and your internet, but you still use EcoCash as your mobile money service. Techzim allows you to buy your Net1 airtime using EcoCash, your Telecel airtime using EcoCash, your Econet airtime using EcoCash. So right now on EcoCash, the minimum airtime you can buy is $5. the minimum airtime you can buy through Techzim is 10 cents. So whatever amount you want, really, you can buy, and you don't need to brave the weather. I mean, it's raining, you know, one day in a week or so. So don't brave the rain to look for a scratch card. Just reach out to Techzim on WhatsApp. So you just send the message that says airtime to our number 0718 049 280. So yeah, it's 0718 049 280. You just send the word airtime. It's one word, AIRTIME, to that number. So it will then facilitate that you buy your Net1, Telecel, Econet airtime using EcoCash
On WhatsApp.
on WhatsApp.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can even use the Techzim Market app, which you will find in the Play Store. It's actually the easiest way to do this. Or you can use the Techzim website, www.techzim.co.zw/airtime.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, we'll catch you on the next episode.
Catch you on the next episode. I hope I'll be around, and I hope we'll be talking about one money.
Yeah, it was great chatting with you, Tinashe, and thank you all for listening. Bye.
Cheers. Bye.